Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, the 29th of July, and I'm joined by a full-strength squad this morning. It brings me great delight to say Chris joins us, fresh from his travels over to Berlin over the weekend. Good and tag, Chris. How's it going?
It feels like a long time since we've been on one of these shows, Derek, because I had a week off and a couple of days off last week, then had the trip and also done the shows with Josh. So no, a long time. So nice to see your beaming smile of a Monday morning.
And ditto, great to see the beaming smile of Stevie Clifford down below us as well. How's it going, Stevie?
Hi, good morning, mate. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a decent weekend and ready to discuss all things Rangers.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. There's plenty to get stuck into, not to mention that bonkers friendly over the course of the weekend. Before we do that, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors, MPH Boilers, the family-run business covering all of mainland Scotland, award-winning. If your boiler's on the blink, then these are the guys to call. They've got those brilliant Viessmann boilers on offer. The all-important link is in the description below. Where shall we start? Well, let's start with transfer news, Chris, because you seem to ruin everyone's Sunday evening last night when you brought the news about Joan Jordan, the Sevilla midfielder that Rangers were tracking. They were hoping to bring him in on loan, with him frozen out at his club over in Spain. But can you give us an update? What is the latest with regards to that?
Firstly, I'm not really sure how I've adapted or been given this moniker of the man that's ruining everyone's transfer window, everyone's summer. Here to report things as I find them out and as they're happening. If Rangers don't sign Spanish midfielders, that's not my fault. Please go and shout at someone else. I don't have that level of influence. Unfortunately, if I did, then things would be a whole lot better, I'm sure. But the news on Jordan, I must have had that on the site yesterday evening, filed hastily from Berlin Airport before we had the first of our flights back up the road. And I think the reaction to it and people giving me a bit of stick over it, I think it probably speaks to the fact that he was a player that a lot of the fans quite liked, that it was a deal that a lot of them were keen for the club to complete. But after various reports in Spain over the last couple of weeks, I said we had the story last night that deal will not be happening. So it's definitely on to the next target, on to the next rumour to try and get to the bottom of. But I think in a wider sense, it's obvious that Rangers do need another midfield option in there. I know we'll come on to talk about the game at the weekend. Mm-hmm. I thought Diomande was really impressive on Saturday once again. Conor Barron, I think, has started his Rangers career really well. Still got Nico Raskin to come back after his injury. After that, there's not a lot of quality, not a lot of depth there. So it's clear that Rangers do need another midfield option, need a different kind of midfield option. Jordan looked to be fit that bill, but as we say, it's not going to happen as we understand it.
Yeah, listen, it's up to the player. If he wants to move to Scotland, obviously doesn't fancy moving. So that's that. Rangers will move on to other targets. Plenty of players that have been linked, of course. Stevie, we were on Friday and someone asked the question, predict how many new signings you reckon it will feature at Tynecastle. I think it was said 3 perhaps. We're hoping for perhaps 3 new additions coming in. Cherny being one of those. Time is now very much ticking. Do you think, how do you see the week panning out? We're at Monday, a few days to go, but the race is on.
Do you know the best part of the Juan Jordan deal falling apart was somebody calling Chris last night the Rangers Twitter Grim Reaper, which I found absolutely hilarious. I'm still quietly confident. So based on I had absolutely nothing. On hope than anything else. But, Champions League deadline, if we walked away from this deal, then there's got to be something going on. I would hope and imagine that the club are advanced on other kind of signing possibilities. So I think it would be sheer negligence if we go into that Dynamo Kiev game in the situation we are now. And I've got to hope, and there's absolutely no evidence to back it up, that this club won't do that. But I'm going on pure hope rather than anything else. So
yeah,
I'll still stick with, I think I said 2-3, and so somewhere along that lines, Derek, I'm quite hopeful that we'll get some action this week. Surely there'll be something. And that's basically where I am with it, purely on the fact that I don't think we can go into the Champions League the way we're set up. And if we do go into those Kiev games like that, then I think it's a really tough ask. But I do think one or two will arrive, and that's just personal hope. So I haven't deviated or began to backtrack yet. Come and see me on Thursday. I think we're on the show on Wednesday, aren't we?
yeah.
So if there's nothing happening by then, I'd like to backtrack then. But at the moment, we've still got a couple of days, so still feeling reasonably comfortable.
Right, okay. Players that moved out the door. Sam Lammers was a bit the notable departure, of course. Friday, I think it was. Was it Friday that he moved away to FC 20? So he was heading back to the Eredivisie for £2.5 million. I think the reported fee. And speaking of the move, he said it happened very quickly. I signed it from Rangers on the Friday and made my debut the next day. But that's the best way. I think I chose 20 over other clubs because of my conversations with the people at the club. I just got a certain feeling from them. They have big plans for the club, and so do I. And so he's moved to FC 20. Good to get him out the door, Chris, I'd imagine. Probably just Rangers recouping pretty much what they paid Atalanta for him, I'd imagine. Wasn't going to work at Rangers. Clement didn't fancy him. And that's that pretty much. There is an argument. Some supporters say that he should have been played in his most natural position, which is as a number 9, but we'll never see that. So what do you make of Sam Lammers leaving?
I don't think that possibility was ever really on the cards. When I was out in Holland for the pre-season camp, as I spoke to someone about that possibility, and can Lammers just play a different position and therefore be more effective? And of course, I can't say who it was, but it was a case of no, because playing number 9 for Rangers is very different than playing number 9 in Holland. He also had good success in that position during his loan in the second half of the campaign. That has allowed Rangers to get some form of a fee for him, because I think 6, 8, 10 weeks into last season, we had all but written him off, and we're thinking, this is a guy we're not going to make anything back at all. If Rangers can hit or if Lammers can hit the various targets as part of this deal, and Rangers can recoup that fee. Importantly, it's a wage that's off the wage bill as well. So I think it's a deal that makes sense for all parties. He was never going to operate as the Rangers number 9. His game wasn't suited for that. He was never going to be able to fulfil the role in the manner that Rangers wanted him to. And going back to Holland for another spell, I think it suits Lammers. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes on and has another decent season. But that was never going to be the case at Rangers. The manager made it clear early on that it was not part of the plans. It was then a case of, how do we maximise the fee? And importantly for Rangers now, how do we recycle those wages? Because again, that forward area, I think we'd all like to see another option coming in. Certainly another number 10 option coming in. If a Lammers' wages can be used in a more productive manner, Rangers then head out of the transfer window stronger. In that particular area, they head out stronger than they entered it.
Yeah, absolutely. A few comments coming in. Malt Whiskey says, what on earth is going on with Goldson? Well, Goldson's currently with the Aris in Austria. They're at a training camp over there. I thought he would play. They had a behind closed doors friendly yesterday. Never got on in the end. I'm not too sure the reason why, but they are preparing an announcement near Aris. Stell, who's covered it in great details, got really good contact at Aris Limassol over there. Tell me that is should be announced in the coming days. Connor Goldson and Aris Limassol, but he is in Austria as we speak at their summer training camp. So that's another departure that you'd imagine should be confirmed in the coming days. Over the weekend as well, there were reports that a former Rangers midfielder is training with the club, Stevie. Jim McCarroll gets in touch. He says, what do you make of John Fleck training with us? A short-term signing, he says. It sparked a bit of debate on social media whether Rangers should make a move for John Fleck. You're shaking your head there. He's 32 years of age now. Had a good spell at Bramall Lane for Sheffield United, of course. If that was an option, Stevie, would you be backing it?
No. Nope. So, nice boy, really good lad, John, but his injuries completely ravaged him, haven't they? So, no. Let's not make the same mistakes that we've made before. It would be probably similar to other people getting James McCarthy and then just sticking him on the bench for 4 years. So, no, John Fleck, absolutely not. I need a lot of convincing to be on board with that one, injury wise and things like that. So I don't think he gets in ahead of Diamandi, which is the exact same position he plays. So no, it's a no from me. Sorry if that's quite blunt, but no.
David Morrison says helps the quota, but Chris, do you go along with Stevie on that one? If a deal can be made, would you be opposed to it?
To answer David's question first, he does help the quota. That's something that we've spoken about before, and Rangers do have to be wary of. But I have to agree with Stevie. I think there would be better options in the transfer market than going for Fleck. Have no issues with him coming up and using the facilities and being in and around the club. He's also a guy with good experience. If he can maybe help some of the younger players while he's there, having obviously made that journey himself, no problem with that at all. But I think if it gets to the stage of he's handed a deal, I think it shows that other pieces of the jigsaw have not fallen into place. There's no way that John Fleck was top of the Rangers midfield transfer list this time a fortnight ago, 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. So I think if that one was to materialise, it would hint that a number of other things have not fallen into place. So I don't think that's one that they will be pursuing.
Interesting. Let's talk about you spoke to the manager, Cyril Dessers, as well. You can watch those interviews over on the YouTube channel, folks. Before we get into what they had to say, the game itself was bizarre. I mean, 4-4 draw over there against Union Berlin. Cyril Dessers turning into the original Ronaldo once again with two brilliant goals. Tom Lawrence with a double as well. Defensively, Rangers suspect. And what do you make of it all, Chris?
As I said to Josh when we did the show after the game, pre-season friendlies are meant to be fairly straightforward affairs, and everyone can just enjoy themselves and watch the game, and you file your stuff, and it's all great. It was a bit hectic. A lot of words were written, a lot of notes were taken. A bit frantic to then you had to go back out the stadium and then round it and then back in to get into the mix zone to speak to the manager. So just about made that in time to speak to the manager, and we were then ejected from the building by an overly officious Union Berlin official. So had to do the video from the car park while the boys went and filed their coach stuff from other areas of the vicinity. So it was an interesting day all round. But in terms of the game, I thought Rangers really good going forward. I thought there's a lot to like about from middle to front. Defensively, there are major red flags at present.
Yeah.
I saw Tav, I spoke to Josh about post-match. Tav looked really, really off it. Didn't look like he's ready for Tynecastle next week. Centre half, we know Rangers will have to spend money. They really need to upgrade on that area of the pitch. And Hefty looked good going forward. Looks very direct. Defensively, I have questions over his capabilities at present. Not writing the man off after only a month in the building, but that defensive performance does not get you 3 points at Tynecastle, and that defensive unit does not win you the Premiership title. I think that's fairly clear to see.
Yeah, I've said this before. He's a kid. He's 20 years of age. He's raw, and he needs work. And let's hope that Philip Clement can work his magic on him. Robert Bunny's taking offence to my Texas comparison. He says, "Calm down, Derek. The original Ronaldo is taking it too far." Apologies there, Robert, for annoying you on this Monday morning. But yep, took his goals well. Stevie, Tom Lawrence took his goals well as well. What did you make of the game? Sort of agree with Chris. Defensively, Rangers all over the shop, and Hearts, no doubt, watching that game, we'll see that they will get opportunities on Saturday. Going forward, there was positives, but yeah, what was your sort of main takeaways?
Yeah, positively, the same as Chris. I thought going forward were really good. I thought Cortez looked kind of bright. Scott Wright continues to have a Sam Lammers-esque pre-season, and we all think that he might be decent enough. Yeah, and it kind of looked all right. And Diamandi is the real diamond, isn't he? He's a boy that can pass. He's a boy that can turn. He's a boy that can control it, and Barron does the work. And yeah, I thought we looked decent. Some of the goals were, I say some actually, the goals were excellent. And we'll come to that maybe in a wee minute when we talk more about Dessers and stuff like that. So all credit to them. I thought for the first time probably in pre-season they looked decent enough going forward. But this is where I have real issues, Derek and Chris as well, that our setup is so easily breached that it's really troubling me. Like I spoke about it after Man United and said the same thing Birmingham to you midweek. It's like one pass undoes our whole team, our whole defence. And I'm not sure how we're set up in midfield. I'm not sure how we're set up to kind of counter press and stuff like that. Because when we do, it's like everybody runs and just one through ball, and all of a sudden they're in on the floor. And the goal conceded, I think, for the penalty, that was speaks volumes. Like that one pass, the centre backs are all over the place. Tabs a mile out of position and can't get back. And look, I think individually, Chris is right. James Tavernier, we all had grave concerns about James Tavernier in the last 6 months, especially, and a lot of concessions were made, possibly talking about, you know, his situation with playing too many games and understand all that and everything else. But you got to look at it the other way. James Tavernier might actually just be done, and the problem is that it's really difficult as if his legs have gone, and yeah, it's harsh and he's returning and stuff like that. But there's a real worry for me regarding James Tavernier. If he continues, I would have Dujon Sterling in there, but he's just injury prone all the time, isn't he? So that's another huge concern. Left back, I'm with Chris. I think that there's a huge gap between Ridvan and Hefty with regards to defensively, and I'm not even sure that Ridvan's that great defensively either. Both are fairly good going forward. Centre backs, listen, Ben Davies, I'm no fan of Ben Davies. I haven't ever been. I think he's nice. I think he's neat, but he's never going to block. He's never going to win tackles. He's never going to organise. He's never going to shout and ball. He's never going to win those vital challenges that you need to win. And you've seen that at the weekend organisationally. You know, he was the same against Manchester United when him and the FD kept coming together and stuff like that. And it wasn't even any better on Saturday against Berlin. John Souttar's fine, needs a decent partner, will still be prone to mistakes as well. So there's urgent work being done there, Derek. At the back, I've seen a lot of people having to go at Jack Butland and saying, you know, could Jack Butland have saved anymore? He can't do anything with the penalty. He can't do anything with the one that was deflected, I think, in the second half. The one that was volleyed into the corner, he's not saving that either. The first one maybe comes at him a bit quick and it goes through his legs. But I think, you know, we're being ultra harsh if we're pinning any blame on Jack Butland, to be honest, for Saturday's kind of performance. Defensively, it's not good. I don't know if it's just missing, if it's as easy as getting a 6 and having that pivot in there that protects everything. And could that have been Juan Jordan? Well, you know, we're never ever going to know if he was the one that makes a difference. But that's the negative side of it, how open our shape is and how easy we seem to be to play against the state of the defence. But going the other direction, I've seen a lot of, like, the goal that Lawrence scored, I think, to make it 3-2. You know, the passing move for that, he starts it, shifts it, Diamandi to Tav, and Tav a brilliant inverted kind of blind pass right on touch into the top corner. I mean, that was a fair to say that's almost up there with the best moments of the pre-season attacking wise. So listen, that's all good and things like that. But defensively, yeah, it's a huge concern, Derek, and that's why I believe that something will come in over the next couple of days in time for the Champions League, because we surely can't be looking at, and if it is this kind of one in, one out, we're hinting at Goldson's going, there might be another couple going in the next few days. Yanis Hadji's there and thereabouts, isn't he? So if you factor in these kind of things, I think we'll have room to bring in another couple, and Czerny will be a good standard of player, but I think we need another 5 first teamers to match what he's doing. I think we've done squad work fine, but now we need the real business happening fairly quickly.
Yeah, I don't think you're far off there. James Tavernier, Chris, did he look like someone that's regressing, or someone maybe that's mentally checked out? There's a lot of noise. It has gone a wee bit quiet, it's fair to say, after the reports from Turkey suggested he'd agreed personal terms with Trabzonspor. We know there was the Rangers were looking for more money in terms of a fee, but what did you make of him at the weekend?
I think first and foremost, he looked like a guy who has missed a couple of weeks of pre-season and was therefore well behind everyone else in just general fitness and conditioning. Now, that's not something that we've said about Tav almost throughout his entire Rangers career. Now, that's been one of the hallmarks of his time here, being fit, being available, being robust, being able to go through the number of games. To touch on something that Stevie said on regarding Dujon Sterling, that's one of the concerns that I have about this idea of, well, if Tav leaves, Sterling comes in and plays right back. Can we rely on Sterling to play the number of games that Tav has played season after season after season? The manager actually addressed it post-match and said he has done a lot of work in pre-season, and he's trying to build himself up so that he can be that robust figure. But it's a long way to go from the minutes that Sterling is able to play and the number of games he's able to play to replacing Tav on a like-for-like basis. So I think there's definitely an issue at right back, obviously. Again, the manager touched on Tav's future in that press conference after the game and said, look, if he's here, he's part of the squad, he's a Rangers player, he plays for Rangers. People then read, I think, too much into that, saying, oh, that means he's definitely not going. There's every chance that James Tavernier still leaves Rangers over the course of the summer. There's a chance that he's still here. That's still to be decided. Still time left in this window. But I think almost regardless of whether he's here or not by the end of this week, it's a big call for the manager at right back at Tynecastle. You're putting in, a Tavernier who is a couple of weeks behind everyone else, and on the basis of Saturday doesn't look ready for the start of the season, against a Sterling who has had odd minutes here and there in pre-season, but you then have these doubts, and we've not really seen enough of him at right back to know if that is his best position. Is he actually capable of being a James Tavernier replacement in that area of the pitch, or is he better utilised in midfield like we saw probably more often than not last season? So out of all the issues in the squad, of which there are many, right back I think is one of the more pressing ones.
Dujon Sterling missing, of course, with a small muscle problem. He was. The manager does touch on it in his post-match press conference. He said, is there an issue with his fitness? He says, you need to see the reality. We are building things. Clearly, I like the player. You guys have seen that because he's played a lot of games with me, much more than before. He played in different positions, but this pre-season, he did 3 times more than he ever did in a pre-season. Still, it is not enough to do all the pre-season. It is with a lot of things in the club and squad. We need to build things. You cannot change everything in 1 month or 6 weeks with a player and their body composition. He is getting better and better. It was only a small thing, and Dujon played a good game against Man United. Step by step, he is becoming stronger, and that is a journey with a lot of players in the squad. On Tavernier, he says, I don't see a situation. I told you guys, Todd is the only one who came into my office and said he wanted to leave. That's it. On potential interest in Tavernier, he says, I don't know. There is maybe interest in a lot of players. I don't know. He's a player for Rangers and is playing for Rangers. As long as players don't say they want to leave, they are Rangers players. So that ties in with Cyril Dessers, who I'm going to pop up. He was speaking also after the game on Saturday, and I'll tell you what he had to say. Always speaks well, Cyril Dessers, and this is him talking about getting a ribbing in training.
Every summer is a big summer at this club. So that's not a real surprise.
For you personally?
Yeah, no, obviously, I'm really happy at this club, and I've mentioned this before. When I signed, I was hoping to stay for a couple of years, to win trophies. I won a trophy, but I want the biggest one, obviously, and that's winning the league. So no, for me, there's been a lot of writing and talking. Sometimes I come into the building and they're like, "Oh, you're still here," and I'm like, "Yeah," but I don't have a lot of idea about what's happening, but I don't read too many of these things. When they call me, then it's probably serious, but I didn't get a call yet, so I'm here.
Does Rangers feel like home now for you?
Oh yeah, no, definitely, no, and not only for me, for my fiancée as well. We feel at home in Glasgow. We feel good. We're happy to be here, and yeah, like I said, hopefully I can be here for some years, and more important even, yeah, hopefully I can win some trophies here.
Big Sergio wants to stay. Stevie, what do you make of that?
Thought it was quite funny when it took a second to come up. I was going to suggest that maybe he's missed that as well. But listen, all joking aside, he's a likeable big guy, isn't he? So yeah, we'll come to his kind of performance and things, I think, in a minute. But it does nail a few things, Chris, as well, and you'll know more than me on this. But there was talk about Cyril Dessers going out the building and transfer request and bids in. I think that fairly nails it, because the manager quoted as saying the only person coming into his office and asking for a transfer is Todd Cantwell. You've now got Cyril Dessers saying how happy he is in Glasgow with his fiancée, he wants to stay here. I think that kind of firmly nails perhaps the suggestion that he'd asked to leave and wanted to go out the door.
I think that was maybe a month or so ago that story first came out. I think it was in the press in Nigeria said that was the case and that he had asked for a transfer. We had the story saying I think it was clubs in Spain, France, and Saudi Arabia were interested in Cyril. Rangers, if he was to move on, Rangers want to recoup the fee that they paid for him last summer. But a club expressing an interest or putting in an email or a phone call to say, "Can you keep us posted of the chain of events?" That's very different from money being put on the table and Dessers then moving on. As you said at the start there, Stevie, he's a smashing big guy. He's really good to interview. He's good to be around. You can imagine he's really good value in a dressing room, but it's performances not on paper. If you were to compile a Cyril Dessers highlights reel and stick it on YouTube, you can imagine people think this boy's a player. There's definitely something there. You look at 22 goals in his first season at Rangers, winning the League Cup, playing European football, that goal in Betis. There's a lot of things to say. This guy's why are Rangers fans trying to chase him out the door? But you then remember the chopping back and the chopping back the other side in various games, and the missing open goals and concerns of his hold-up play, and there's that other side of it. There's so much on that side as well. So he's a very difficult guy to sum up as a player. He was one that actually the press guys that were out there over a beer on Friday night, we spoke a lot about Dessers, and he can be. I made the point he can be pleased. I think with his first season on paper, he held up his end of the bargain. I say coming in, scoring 22 goals, playing a lot of football, carrying that number 9 jersey for a lot of it due to also the Silva situation, injuries to Roof and to Danilo. Dessers put a lot into last season, but could have had so much more. I think that's why people still have doubts. Again, we were talking about him on the train back yesterday. Do you see Rangers carrying 4 centre halves or 4 centre forward? Sorry, if Dessers doesn't go, you've got Danilo. A man has come in. Do Rangers still go and sign another number 9 and have 4 players that can play in that position? I think someone may have to move on for Rangers to then go and really invest heavily in that area of the pitch. That if someone is going to move on, it will be Dessers. Going by the interview, he's happy, he's settled, he doesn't want to. So how that number 9 role unfolds in the next few weeks is going to be really interesting, I think.
So the funny thing is, Derek, sorry, I was just going to say, see if he had just finished the way he did for the first goal, right? Quick, sharp, one touch past the goalie, one touch finish. See if he just did that last season. He had 22, he'd probably have 35.
Easy.
And that's the frustration, right? Because that, I said it on Saturday, that finish is very un-Dessers-like, because he always chops in, doesn't he? He always takes a touch, and if you look at Birmingham, where if he had just have taken the one that was crossed across the face of goal, he tried to chop and turn round. See if he becomes more instinctive. And I don't think you can teach a guy that who's 29. I don't think you can teach him to change and be more instinctive. But if he was only like he was for the first goal, then there wouldn't be question marks because he would have another 10 on top of it. And you could settle then for the 5 that he doesn't take because he's up in the 30s and stuff like that. And look, I think at times Cyril Dessers, I think Ronald de Boer nailed it. At times you look at him and he's a 9 and he's really good and he's offering so much. And other times he's a 2, just as Ronald de Boer said. So I think that's our biggest issue. And yeah, if you put together a YouTube compilation of Cyril Dessers' best moments, we'd be pretty excited saying, look at this guy we're getting. But as Chris says, it's all the other wee bits. It's the annoying bits where when anyone goes near him, he just seems to give up and he has a wee bit of a tantrum and, you know, the lack of holding it up and stuff. Just everything Chris said. So I think he's a bit of an enigma. Do I think he's as bad as what people make out or we all make out? No, he's probably not. But I think we're so thirsty, Derek and Chris, for success and for a proper, you know, 9 that just bangs in goals left, right and centre that we're probably not seeing what he actually brings as well. So there's a bit there. Personally, if the money come in that Chris was talking about, a chance to recoup our business and go and reinvest it elsewhere, I would probably say, yeah, now's the right moment to do it. But I think we've got so many issues all over this team that he might not be at the forefront of them, kind of thing, if that makes sense. As Chris said, centre back, right back, 6, 10. There's so much business to be done that you might just be looking at that saying, well, we'll just put up with it at the moment and see what else we can do. Yeah.
I mean, the striking options, Igaman, we've not seen yet. Danilo just been nursed back to full fitness. Whether he features, starts at Tynecastle, who knows? I know that he wants to. Dessers is probably the main man going to lead the line at the weekend. Rangers still need another striker, Chris, don't they?
I think they need an upgrade. But like I said there, can you, if you think of what an upgrade on Dessers is going to cost in terms of a fee and wages, if you then go and put that money into another player, that player then expects to come in and start games more often than not. So you bring someone in as your first choice number 9. So that puts Dessers down to 2. That then puts Danilo down to 3. If you're Danilo, why do you want to be third choice number 9? If you're Igaman, is he then going to get the football that he needs to improve as quickly as we need him to? If he's then in effect number 4, and that's why that area is really interesting. It's an interesting dynamic now. It's fine saying yes, you need 4 strikers to get you through a season, but having 4 strikers on your books and keeping 4 strikers happy are very different things. Especially when all of those strikers, Igaman, outside of that, perhaps certainly if you go and sign another one, you've then got 3 guys who can play number 9 when the manager only plays 1, each of whom wants to play, each of whom has come with a decent transfer fee and is on decent wages. That's not an easy situation for the manager to kind of handle over the course of a campaign. So now interested to see how that unfolds.
That's why I think, and I'm only guessing, that they'll go and do other areas first before. Like I think midfield and centre backs probably your biggest areas, especially if Goldson goes. I think they'll look at it and say 1 in, 1 out. They'll go and get another centre back, and I think they're still looking for that 6. So that's where I would guess we would go and do business first.
Yep. There's a comment that came in just about business. Another rumour over the weekend. Where is it? For the life of me, I can't see it. But reports over in Portugal. Porto have got a winger by the name of Gonçalo Borges. I think that's how you pronounce it. But apparently Strasbourg from France and Rangers had made inquiries. Porto looking for 15 million euros. So that pretty much puts that one to bed, Chris, you'd imagine.
He's not a name that I was aware of before I saw the Twitter links the other day there, and at that price, I don't think it's a name I'm going to have to spend too much time researching and giving putting too much thought and effort into at that level. Rangers are not spending 15 million on a winger. As Stevie has outlined there, there are many issues within their squad. Centre back, centre mid, centre forward are just some of them. I would be amazed if Rangers go and spend that type of money on a winger. So a nice Twitter rumour, but I don't think we'll I don't think we're speaking about this young man again. Put it that way.
Borges, is he good on Football Manager, Stevie?
I'm just laughing at the old Grim Reaper up in the corner. No, well, listen, 15 million surely loose change for John Bennett, I would have thought. So, no, I mean, like Chris says, see, as soon as these things kind of come to fruition past the rumour stage, and then you get to the point where the team says, aye, this is what we want. See if it's not a loan for that kind of money, then you're going and looking at it thinking, no, that's not really. And I know that there's been the stories surrounding others coming in for big money. I think that we need to wait and see how this plays out. I don't think that I don't like see for just to nail. I don't think we're spending big money on Borges. I don't think we're spending that kind of money, but I do think there's money to spend. I think it's more about getting players out. I think if you shift, I think if you shift in the next couple of days, your likes of your Goldsons, your likes of your Hadjis and stuff like that, could you get Todd Cantwell out the door? These sort of moves, I think free up, getting those three out the door, all on 30 plus £1,000 a week. You're all of a sudden you're freeing up 100 grand, and I think that's the side of it that's more important to actually sitting there going, well, we don't have any money. I'm not sure that's the case. If you're spending, big money on players, then it's going to be coming with big wages and stuff. And I think that's the issue, especially with things changing with regards to the amount you can spend towards, your financial fair play and things like that this year. So I think that's where the issue is more than actually having money. Now, I'm not suggesting we do have 15 million. That's not the case. That's not true. We're not spending it on one guy, like Chris said, although it would be very Rangers just to go and whack some money on a guy that we just don't probably really need urgently.
Break the transfer record.
Yeah, just on a guy that we've already got somebody just signed for. But no, listen, I think it's easy to kind of link Rangers to players because we need so many and we're looking for so many. But I would suspect, Chris and Derek, that if we've got money, then it will be other positions first before spending it on somebody like that.
Yeah, centre-half, please. I think that is required for Rangers in the near future, that's for sure. Right, folks, that'll do us there. Nice comment, incidentally. A blue-eyed boy got in touch. He says, I retired earlier this year, and the Rangers review is an integral part of my day. That's very kind of you to say so, sir, and thank you for tuning in on this Monday morning. Just a heads up for those of you that are Rangers Review Extra members, I will be speaking to an FC20 podcaster later on this afternoon. Who's going to give us a bit of a lowdown on Vaclav Cherny and what we can expect. So tune in for that. Around about 4 o'clock, I'll be speaking to Gus, his name is. So that's something.
I thought you were going to say you were going to warn him about Sam Lammers there.
Well, we're going.
Unlucky Gus.
I know. Commiserations. We will talk about Lammers, of course, as well. But you can join us for that. We'll be live at about 4 o'clock, folks. So you can tune in for that one. But if there's any transfer news breaking, be sure to keep your eyes peeled on the social media channels, on the YouTube, and also on the website as well, folks. We'll keep you abreast of everything that's going on Planet Rangers. If you've not joined us on WhatsApp, you can do that as well. The link is in the description below this video. We post all the latest breaking news, opinion articles and interviews, that sort of thing on there as well. If WhatsApp is your preferred medium to consume your Rangers news. Right, that'll do us there. Big thanks to Stevie and to Chris. And if I don't speak to you later, enjoy your Monday. Bye for